you have to come in front. So, as I said, the next item is a current affairs debate on the situation in the Middle East, escalation of violence and mounting humanitarian crisis, particularly in Gaza. Speaking time is limited to 3 minutes for all members, except the first speaker chosen by the Bureau, who is allowed 7 minutes. The debate will end at around 7:30 p.m. In the debate, I call first Mrs. Saskia Kluit. Saskia, you have 7 minutes now and 3 minutes at the end to reply to the debate. You have the floor.
Thank you, President. It's a heavy responsibility to open this debate and to ask your urgent attention to the situation that is evolving every minute now and worsening by the hour. We are watching an extreme escalation of violence in the Middle East, with the escalation of the might of Israel's military operations in Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, and the next few days will be crucial. It's a conflict with very deep roots and wounds on all sides. We are divided, but however difficult, we must try today to find a common ground and a human rights-based forward. I welcome the continuing work of the subcommittee of the Middle East on finding political solutions, even if it's really difficult. And I commemorate my friends that it's our collective responsibility not only to take political stances, but also, or most, foster peace and human rights and the safety also in this region. And that's why I would like to ask you today to go beyond our political differences and our political stances. It is my wish that we can debate and focus on the humanitarian side of this conflict and the human rights that we stand for. To start, it is always important to commemorate that our Assembly has condemned the attacks of Hamas in the strongest words. These are hideous crimes committed during that attack. They represent a complete violation of human rights and human dignity, for which the perpetrators should be held accountable. And we should call for and keep calling for the immediate return of the hostages, and call upon Hamas to grant immediate access of the Red Cross to the hostages. The bodies of the hostages who are not alive anymore should be immediately returned in dignity to their loved ones, and we send unwavering support to all the families of the hostages. But, dear colleagues, a year after these dreadful events of October 7, the military operations of Israel are still continuing unabated in Gaza and West Bank, and are now extended to Yemen, Syria, and this morning it has crossed physically the borders of Lebanon with a ground offensive for Israel. In Lebanon, the recent escalation has placed already immense strain on the humanitarian situation. Thousands are missing or are dead. 1 million people have already fled, 100,000 to Syria, and I have really great concerns about how they are doing safety-wise and in well-being, and my heart goes out to all of them. We should stand in solidarity with the people of Lebanon today, and we should speak our support for them in these challenging times. And we are here to defend human rights and human dignity, so we must speak up out and loud about the most fundamental of those rights, and that's the right to live. Protection of that right is the foundation of our work in this Council, especially and maybe foremost in times of conflict and war. So I urge you again to focus this debate on the urgent vital needs of ordinary people in the Middle East who are suffering and dying now. First of all, I call our own states and Council member states to immediately prioritize peace, prioritize de-escalation in Lebanon and other areas, and prioritize the protection of civilians and humanitarian workers in this conflict. That is our task in this conflict. But even in this moment of escalation, it is clear that the situation in Gaza has no comparison in the region. It's one of the highest importance we prevent the situation from spilling over to other areas in the Middle East. Imagine the impact of 45,000 bombs on a highly densely populated area. As you know, I am designated reporter on the humanitarian situation of women and children in Gaza, West Bank and Israel. A report I hope to complete next year. And I would like to share with you some of the information we have got at hearings we organized last 2 months. Because these are the effects we might be facing on a much bigger ground and we should fight to prevent that. Gazans have no means to escape. They are besieged, they are trapped. Within the Gaza population is constantly on the move to avoid harm, while in fact they cannot avoid harm, it's nowhere safe. 9 out of 10 people, around 2 million people, are displaced from their homes. Everyone has been forced to flee about every month. Already 1 million Lebanese are on the run. So in the region, we are facing 3 million people who are not at home anymore. We have heard many times 41,000 people have been lost, 95,000 have been injured, including 70% women and children. The list of identified victims of Gaza already contains 215 pages of only the names of children. At least 250 humanitarian and medical aid workers have been killed, mostly on duty. But what most people don't realize is that due to the collapse of the healthcare system, we are looking at a much bigger number of casualties. The most safe estimate is that we are looking at 120,000 people who have died from ailments and sicknesses that could have been easily prevented, like women having a C-section having to die because lack of penicillin, their babies dying because lack of milk. The children of Gaza are living trauma on trauma. They are losing their home, their schools, their friends, their families. About 17,000 children are without their parents. Many of them have been forced to assume the role of parent. They have to take care of their siblings, often leading to exploitation or sexual violence against them. Every day, 10 children have their limbs amputated. So while we talk here this week, 50 children have lost a limb. President, when we meet again in January, if nothing has changed, we have filled this room with children who have lost an arm or a leg or both. Another 177,000 women are at stake from non-communicable diseases that are not treated. Hunger, poor nutrition are dangerous things when you are pregnant. The healthcare system has collapsed due to widespread destruction of the infrastructure, medical infrastructure, but also due to the lack of supplies of essential goods. And that is caused by administrative and physical restrictions, a serious breach of international law. As a result, the population no longer has access to simple medicines. I will try to speed up, but a lot needs to be said. Humanitarian organizations are working day and night. And they keep coming to work even though they are being shot at, they are being bombed, and they're being intimidated. They are real heroes, and I think we should pay them respect to coming to their work every day. It's not only, however, a humanitarian issue if we attack humanitarian workers. It's also a moral one, and it's also an illegal one, and we should stand for the safety of the workers. Because what if we allow humanitarian law and regulations to be violated by conflicting parties in a conflict where democracy play a big role? What are our human rights worth? What is our human rights order worth if we not fight for them in this conflict? We cannot accept man-made humanitarian crisis of this scale, because it will be the new normal and other people will hurt in other conflicts. So, we should push for an immediate de-escalation and permanent and unconditional ceasefire, and that's the essential first step. Pending the ceasefire, we should not rest. We should call on Israel and conflicting party to ensure that the military operations do not further destroy civilian lives or infrastructure. And we should call urgently on Israel and all parties in the Middle East to fully respect international boundaries, humanitarian law and regulation which has been installed for exactly the situations we are talking about now. So that means no attacks on civilians or on humanitarian structures. Humanitarian personnel should be guaranteed safe working conditions in all situations, and we should have safe access points for conflicting and de-escalation zones, especially in Gaza. They must be open at all times for medical and humanitarian works. I look to a debate about this aspect of the conflict, President, because we should be silent when children sleep, but not when they die.
Thank you,